Hey everybody on YouTube, it's Hella Bella here. I am here to interview a very special person, my mom, about her career as an occupational health nurse. So you've been in the field for how long now?
Well, I've been a nurse for 27 years, and I've been doing occupational health for about almost 20 years.
Wow. So when did you start becoming like occupational health instead of just a regular nurse?
In 2001, so I finished nursing school in 1993, and in 2001 I got a job as an occupational health nurse, and I've been doing that ever since. But I also moonlighted, to keep my skills up, my regular nursing skills. I worked as a home health nurse and a hospice nurse for many years.
Wow.
A full-time day job as an occupational health nurse.
So you had how many jobs at once?
2 or 3, mostly just 2. Occasionally I might have had a third job, but it didn't last long.
A true hustler.
For 13 or 14 years, I worked 2 jobs. There was one time I know I worked 6 weeks straight without an off day.
Oh my gosh. Well, so what made you become a nurse when you were going to college?
I actually decided I was going to become a nurse before I ever set foot in the college facility.
Oh.
When I was in the 6th grade, I decided I was going to become a nurse, and it was because my grandmother had influenced me as far as, what are you going to do, that kind of thing. I can remember sitting on the front porch at her house talking to her, and she encouraged me to be a nurse, and probably because her sister was a nurse, my Aunt Betty.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Aunt Betty was the LPN.
And your grandmother
in Florence for many, many years.
Your grandmother was a really bad diabetic, right?
Yes, she was.
So
another reason she thought I should be a nurse.
Yeah, I was gonna say she probably realized the importance of having a good nurse around.
Probably so, but as far as in our family, I was the first. Me and my sister Angela were the first women on our side of the family, my grandmother's family, to go to college. Her sister went, and became a nurse, but in our line.
So as far as like higher education goes, you were the first.
Yep.
That's cool. So you just went back to school. Tell everyone about that.
Well, it wasn't pleasant, and I never thought I'd do it. But after many years, I decided that, it would help me maybe get some other jobs that I wanted if I had additional education. I had got my associate's degree in nursing back in 1993, and that took me a long way. I mean, I was making $79,000 a year with an associate's degree.
Wow. Yeah, that's almost unheard of now.
I just was very fortunate. And, decided I would, while I was still working that job, I decided to go back because you were going to go to college. So when it got time for you to go to college, I started thinking about myself and why didn't I go on and do something more with my education. So when you got ready to go to school, I did too.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember thinking, I hope she's not in my class.
Like that movie with, what's her name? The one that, what is it? I forgot her name.
Well, so you went back, you had an associate's, you went back for a bachelor's, but you've just completed a master's, haven't you?
Yes, I took a break for a year after I finished the bachelor's and decided I'd go ahead and get the master's. So you did it all when I was in school the first time, but I needed to get out and make some money because I just, everybody wants to go to school and get a job. So, I did. And so for many years, I thought, I don't need to go back to school. I'll be just fine. And, without that. But then I decided it was important many years later. So I went back.
So you did.
Now I got this master's degree that it gets me something else, another job. So that's what I'm going to be seeking employment elsewhere. I'm working on a 5-year contract here now. So I have 2 more years left. And then I could go before my 2 years is up if I find something else I want to do. But that was one reason for going ahead and doing this, hoping it would help me get a leg up on somebody else, because everybody's qualified for these jobs practically that apply for them.
Right. So For people who don't understand what you do you're a civilian employee, is that what they would call it, or?
I'm a Department of the Army, Department of Defense Army civilian employee, DoD. So I work with the Army, but I'm not in the Army. But
Right.
I go to work. My coworkers wear green suits, Army suits.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a mixture of civilians and active duty employees where I work.
So you've been living in Germany for how long now?
Almost 2 years, and I was in
2 years in October?
It'll be 3. Well, I was in Vicenza, Italy for a year, and then I got this job in Germany in October of 18. So I'm coming up on 2 years here in October.
Right. So do they give you a place to live, or do you pick out your place to live when you come over there?
When you get a job with the government like this as a civilian employee, when you go to live abroad, I get a package that's like a supplemental benefit to me, and it's based on what level of pay you are. So I get X amount of dollars to spend on my rent and my utilities. So it's right at $39,000 a year roughly. If somebody would make more money, we're getting more money than that, so you can buy a place to live.
So you just found your own house when you got to Germany?
You can get out and find your own place, and then you go through housing on base. They have people register these rental properties at housing because they want to get in with
landlords too.
Yeah, so these people have been renting these same houses to all these deals that come and go for years and years. So there's houses. So I have a nicer house here than I have in my home. I would never be able to afford to live in such lush conditions.
Yeah. Well, and that's pretty cool that they pay for you to live. So is your income still taxed now that you're?
Your income is taxed. Now, if you were a contractor working abroad, like when I was a contractor in the Marshall Islands, so my income wasn't taxed there. As long as you stay out of the country for 1 year, you can go back, but you can't stay more than 30 days during a given year, or they'll tax you.
Wow.
But this, for being a federal employee now, it's just like I was in the States. They tax me.
Yeah, and you said the pay is about the same as being in the States.
Yeah, roughly. Really, I would make more money at the level I am now if I was back in the States, but I wouldn't be getting this extra supplement either to pay for my rent and utilities.
Okay,
so
yeah.
So on the watch, really. They're giving me something here that they wouldn't be giving me there. So when I leave here and don't get this anymore, it'll be like getting a raise because my yearly income will go up when I go back.
Okay. So did you have to do special training to become an occupational health nurse, or do you have any distinctions besides?
Yes, I'm certified. So after you go to nursing school, depending on whatever kind of field you go into, you can actually certify practically any area of nursing, really. But you have to study and you have to have work experience. I think I had to have 5,000 hours actually working in the field of occupational health before I was eligible to sit for the test. So you get the book, you study, there's prep courses you can take. Now everything, you can take all this stuff online, or you can go to a live course. And most of these courses will guarantee you like X% of the people who take our course will pass the test.
It's the same with real estate.
Yeah, I paid like $600 20 years ago and took a prep course after I studied the book. And then went and took the test. And back then, if this stuff was online, I didn't know it. But that was 20 years ago.
Yeah,
so
it probably wasn't.
Questions on the computer, just take these practice tests over and over and over until you're ready to go test. And you go sit for the test, and the test costs about $400 or $500, and then you get the certification, and you can get these extra letters at the end of your name. Mine's Certified Occupational Health Nurse, COHN. And so depending on, you can specialize for surgery, or you can specialize for different areas,
Right, but you have essentially set yourself apart from everyone who just had nurse, RN.
Yes, I did not know at the time. I took that because my employer at the time encouraged me, my supervisor did, to get it. And so I had no idea how important that one certification was going to be and change my life.
Yeah.
So having that put me ahead of anybody else that applied, that if they had experience and they didn't have the certification, I got the leg up because, oh, she's certified. So
yeah.
I got a job working on an island in the Marshall Islands because I had that certification. I got a job in Italy because I had that certification. I've got the job in Germany now because I was the only one who applied and had the certification.
Yeah. Well, I hope that everyone listening takes note on that, because one little thing that can set you apart from every other applicant. I mean, that's crazy. So do you think that other people are more aware of that now than before when you got your certification, that they need to be getting these things?
Probably the people who applied for the job when I did. I'm not aware of it. Because some of those people that applied had worked there for many years. They were already working there, and so they were experienced, but they didn't have certification. And the Army, and they're looking to hire the most qualified people. So, you know, I mean, I had the years of experience too, just not with them. I had my experience was in the civilian world, where my government career has only been 3 years in length, but still I had the years of service in the civilian field. I had the certification. I got the job. So
do you want to tell them a little bit about Usajobs.gov and how you go? Is that how you've gotten all of your jobs?
Yeah, it's a website. You just go to Usajobs.gov, and you can type in by state. You can type in by state, and it'll pull up every job that's available in that state. If you want to look for nurse, you can type in registered nurse. We actually have a job series codes. It's a registered nurse code. It's 0610, 0610. And that will pull up any registered nurse position that's advertised on USA Jobs. And then if you want to specify, we only want to look at jobs in Florida, then there's another box that you fill in the state.
Gotcha. So are most of the USA jobs, are they contracts for a year, 2 years? How long do they usually last?
Like I said, this is my first go around. So if you get a job in the United States, it's your job. You don't ever have to leave it unless it's one that says not to exceed 1 year. Like they may have some positions they're trying to fill temporarily because somebody has taken a job and come overseas. Like if I had worked in the United States before, they have to give me return rights. I could apply to go and get this other experience working abroad and come to Germany or wherever there was a job. They have to guarantee my jobs available for me to go back to in 3 to 5 years whenever I return.
That's great. That's impressive because there's no other place you can work for that is ever going to guarantee you a job.
So you have to be willing to, you go back to that job. If you decide you don't want to go back when that time is up, you don't have to, but you can't stay. Right now there's a 5-year rule working abroad, and you can get asked to be extended at 5 years, and they look at the situation like, is your position hard to fill? If so, they might say, yeah, you can stay 2 more years. There's people that have been here 12 years, but the rule is 5. So it depends on how hard the position is to fill and who's signing the paperwork that week and how they feel about it.
Yeah.
Somebody's adamant, no, nobody's staying past 5, they're not going to sign anybody. So if you got somebody that thinks it's a silly rule and they're not in agreement with it, and you got the paperwork to justify where you advertise the position, you didn't get enough qualified candidates, and this is why we want to keep John Doe. So they're not signing John Doe's paperwork stuff.
Wow.
But at the end of your years, like me, I don't have return rights to go back to a job, but I'll go in a program called Priority Placement. I think it's PPP. I'm not sure what the third P stands for. I forget it. But anyway, when there's only 6 months of my time left on my contract, I go into Priority Placement, and HR will look for me a job in the region where I say I want to go back to. And so after 60 days, if no job comes up with my qualifications and my level, then they'll open it up to more states. And I might not get to go to where I want, particularly. They might send me somewhere I don't want to be. So it would behoove me to find my own job before my time to go if I don't want to get stuck where I don't want to be. But they will guarantee they'll find you a job somewhere and send you.
Right. So you don't necessarily worry as much about job security now that you're in with the Army?
Well, I mean, I guess anything, everybody's replaceable, right? You know,
Yeah.
so I don't worry about job security. I feel like they're going to find me something. Is it going
Yeah.
to make where I want to go? I don't want to go to Alaska. It's nice there, but I don't like to go. But, you know, those are my fears that I'll get sent if I don't find my own job, that they're going to try to send me somewhere I don't necessarily would enjoy living.
Yeah, but just to clarify, you don't have to go.
No, I don't have to go. But, you know, if I didn't have a job to go to, why not get on a plane and go to Alaska because she needs a paycheck, but she'd still be hunting her another job in the meantime, and she probably would stay for 5 years, right?
But there is a lot to be said for knowing you have a job, knowing how much it pays, and knowing that it's for a year contract.
True, and some of those jobs are advertising right now because of the COVID-19. They've even got positions on there that says not to exceed 120 days. But odds are they're gonna keep them on. Or if you perform well while you're there, then they may want to keep you anyway. You know, if a position comes open and you did well while you were there, it could be that they say, "Hey, you did a great job." Maybe they'll offer some people employment. You know, I'm sure all of them won't get to, but I imagine they try to keep people if they can.
Well, I'm guessing that if they invest resources in helping them move and hiring them, then it makes sense for them to just like keep them as long as.
I mean, they can. That's why they tell you up front not to exceed 120 days because you may not have a job past that.
Right.
But I can see where if this coronavirus is still an issue 120 days from now, then they might get extended.
Right. And granted, it probably is still, that's only what, 4 months?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't really speak to that or what they're going to do, but I can speculate that if this is still a problem 120 days from now, that those people could end up staying a little longer.
Yeah. So you said the restrictions on base for masks are more stringent than here in the United States.
It is here in Germany. We have to follow whatever the host nation is saying too, as far as like they will fine people if you got more than 3 people in a car or gatherings more than 3 people, they're fining people.
What is the fine? How much is the fine?
I have to look, but it's like $1,000. And if you have gatherings of more than 10 people, it could be $25,000.
Wow. So they're just more strict. Well, you know, I told you the other day I was out in town and it looked like a normal day. Everyone was out. There's people everywhere. So I'm guessing that's not the case where you are.
Well, there's really nowhere to go. I mean, you see people out walking and riding their bikes, but non-essential businesses have been told they had to close, and they have. Really, the only place I've seen, you have some restaurants that you can get takeaway food only, and the grocery stores. And I'm sure drugstores are open, but I haven't needed one, so I haven't. One, so that's to go to work in the grocery store since this started.
Well, let's talk about something slightly more lighthearted. Have you made a lot of friends in your work through the years, other nurses, people that you worked with?
Oh, yeah. Through Facebook, I can remain friends with these people forever.
Forever, yeah.
I mean, I still have contact with people I've worked with in the last 20, 25 years. So.
Yeah, well, haven't you helped people get a job and people have helped you get a job through like different?
Well, I mean, if I knew somebody and I knew of an opening, I would call a friend and say, "Hey, they got an opening here at XYZ. You should apply." You know, give them a heads up. Because, like I said, I didn't know anything about USA Jobs up until about 3 years ago. Never was anything on my mind that I was even looking for a job there. So, you know, I figured if I didn't know, there's probably a lot of other people that didn't know either.
Right. And that's one of the main reasons I really wanted to do this interview. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people who don't fully understand how many jobs there are for civilians in the Department of Defense.
Federal, like the jobs with NASA are on there, jobs with Homeland Security and FEMA. It's not just DoD, Air Force, all of them. Federal, I guess, type job that I know is on there. You know, you just have to go. You can search by the organization you want to work for, or you can search by the name of the job. Like if you were looking for a job as a real estate agent, they have realtors. If you were looking for a job as a laundry worker, they got laundry workers. They've got facilities. cemetery attendants. They have anything you can think of. Probably there's a job, jobs probably looking to be filled. Parks and recs, you know.
Yeah, no, they had a lot of store manager positions from what I could see. They have what is it called? AFES, the
But I don't know. AFES is separate, I believe. I don't know.
or the, yeah. Well, I know I saw on USA Jobs, there would be a job posted. It would say like retail manager, and then you click on it and it would show like 20 different states where they wanted this particular thing. So you don't.
If you think it's one job, or most times it'll say like multiple locations on the listing, and then when you click into it, it'll give you all the locations. And when you apply, once you get into the application itself, it'll let you check the box for which ones you would like. So you don't have to be subjected to going, if you didn't want to do X,
right.
You don't have to. You only check the box for the one you want to go to.
Right.
You never know.
Well, and unlike being, enlisted in the Army where you got to go or they tell you to go, you have more flexibility. You can go where you want to go.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
It just depends on what you do and where you do it. Like some jobs say you must be able to deploy, like to support the Army. Like we have a lot of emergency essential employees. Like somebody's got to do payroll. So if these, something's going on somewhere, they're going to take some people, some HR people. They're going to take a safety person.
Yeah.
Just essentially. Yeah.
Firefighters, EMTs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know who all's going on. It's just depending on what the mission is, but definitely civilians can go other places besides stay in their normal work environment, depending on what their job is and if they're needed.
Gotcha. So, I mean, what advice do you have for people who would want to do what you're doing, like get in with the government and start working for them? Is there any path to follow, or is it just sort of like apply? It's a numbers game.
Well, I'm not really sure. I think, like I said, I got lucky because I had a certification that they were looking for, and I had the years of experience. So definitely having some experience in whatever job you're trying to get is always a
plus. Even experience in the private sector, not.
I mean, that's all my experience for my whole life. Up till 3 years ago, I've been doing this for 27 years, and 24 of it was in the civilian world.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean that's where all my experience. But they look at that, I had the same experience what they were looking for. I just had it in a different line of work.
Gotcha. So do you get like a 401k with them, or you have retirement plan?
They have a TSP and a pension.
What's TSP?
That's their version of the 401k.
Oh, okay.
And it stands. I'll have to look and see what it stands for.
I think it might be like total savings plan or something.
Thrift spending plan or thrift savings plan.
Yes, I just read about that in that book that I'm reading.
Yep. So, and I mean, you save in it just like you would your 401k, and they match you, I think, up to 5 or 6%. I can't remember, but I'm maxed out. Yeah.
That's a lot.
And also, you get a pension based on years of service. After 5 years, you're vested. You can qualify for a pension. And of course, like most jobs, the longer you work and the more you can earn on your pension, and it's also by your pay. So like I have read all of it, but it's something about your high three. So if you started out making $60,000 and you ended your career making $100,000, the last 3 years, the high three could have been in the middle. Maybe you had a high paying job in the middle of your career and then you eased back into an easier job, where it was not successful. Whatever your high three is what they're going to base your pension on.
But you get your pension after 5 years of working for your whole retirement?
Well, you're vested. You got to be of a certain age to be able to retire.
So, yeah, but then
if you separated from service after 5 years, your money would sit, and then say you went somewhere else to work. When it came time to retire, you could still come back and say, hey, I want my pension for those years I worked there.
Gotcha.
I think I'm telling that right. I'm not an HR professional, but I think that's right.
Yeah, definitely check into this yourself. But we're not advisors. We're not financial advisors. No. What are the other benefits they give you? You said that you get housing, you get a savings plan? Do you get travel back home? Do you still get that?
Yeah, if you're working abroad, you earn home leave, so you have to use it when you still have at least 6 months left on your contract. If you don't use your home leave, it stays in a bank. You're in your little account. That if you ever went back and worked abroad again, you can use that home leave later.
Oh, I didn't.
If you leave here and don't take your home leave, it just sits in your days accrued bank.
Mm-hmm.
You can't use it when you go back home, and you have to go to the United States to take it.
You can't go to another country to visit.
That's my understanding, that you can't use it to go on vacation around here. You have to go. And they also pay for a plane ticket for you and your family to go back.
Oh, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we can talk about what do you think probably has changed the most in nursing over the last course that you've seen? And I think one thing I've seen everywhere now is everyone has an iPad when you go to the
it's I believe. Taking care of patients is always going to be patient care, and of course technology changes and that gets better too, with different types of surgeries and things they are able to do for folks. And better things get better. We're always improving, but as far as the major thing, it has to be the way we chart, because everything was on paper. I took my nursing test on paper when I took it. Now that would be unheard of. Everything's computerized, all the testing.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, all the charting everywhere is on computer now. I mean, there's probably some places that might still have some paper files for certain things, but for the most part, even if they do, they're scanning it into a computer and saving it in the patient's electronic record.
Yeah, so everything has sort of shifted to digital. Even you said you're teleworking right now?
That's correct.
So that's nice. You get to work from home like me.
That's the kind of nursing I do too. If I did direct patient care with this job, that would be impossible. So I'm more an administrative nurse now.
Right. So you kind of have more responsibility on a more of a business level for everything.
It's all business. It's all the business side of occupational health is what I'm doing now. There's actually, at the clinic, we have an Occ Health clinic with another nurse works there, that they do the testing and see the patients. If they need a hearing test or a spirometry exam or something like that, they would go to the clinic to get it. Now, my nurses that work under me sit in different areas throughout Germany, Italy, and Belgium, and they orchestrate these people that need to go and get them a waiver with what they need and the list to the clinic, get these services performed.
Gotcha. So you're talking like new hires, people who are being transferred, things like that?
Or then you got people that have to be in a medical surveillance program because maybe they work around loud noise. So they need to get a hearing test every year. Somebody's got to track these people and try to get them back in. It's not always easy to get grown-ups to do things. Somebody has to stay after them a little bit and say, "Did you go get your test?"
Yeah. Do you think they're ever worried that if they don't pass their stuff that they'll?
Some people are worried that somebody's out to get them, and that's not the case. We have it for the record, but you got some people that are paranoid.
I probably would be.
Not just here, that's everywhere.
Yeah, I probably would be. So what do you think was the hardest parts of running what you run? Is it the collaboration between you having to deal with people in another country, talking to them? Is that hard to get everyone on the same page for what you want to happen?
When we have meetings, it's on a telephone conference or like a video conference like we are now. So everybody, because we're all so spread out, we can't just get together anytime we want to. So that makes it challenging. But through email and video teleconferencing, we're able to communicate and get the job done.
Well, that's cool. Is there other types of things you might want to go into later in your nursing career, or anything else you've thought about?
I'm already thinking about crossing over safety, because so much of what we do is part of safety. So I think now I may try to start taking some more courses on the safety side of things, maybe crossover.
Yeah.
I've also discovered where I can get my PhD for free if I want to, but there's a part of me that says, do I want to go back to school? I know I should, but then I think, is it going to help me at this point? I don't know that either.
I mean, we have to call you Dr. Castle.
I'll be more stress in my life and not bring me anything to show for it. I don't know. So those are crossroads that I've got to determine.
Is it all online, the whole program?
Well, pretty much. I think you have to you have to be able to meet like 2 or 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, for the most part, it's all.
What would you get your PhD in? Like,
occupational health.
Oh my gosh, you're never gonna stop. You're just gonna keep climbing the ladder.
I know that I'm gonna do it. It's just a thought.
Yeah. Well, where would you want to work if you came back to the United States?
In Alabama.
Alabama. You want to be home.
Who don't want to go back to their hometown? I would like to go back to Florence, Alabama, but if we couldn't get there, I'd like to go to Redstone.
Huntsville, Alabama, for people who don't know, is that seems to be a big place for jobs in Alabama, is Redstone.
There's a VA clinic in Sheffield, Alabama, and I'm sure whoever's working there is not going to leave till they retire, probably.
Yeah. Are there there's a lot of bases in the United States that you've looked at going to work. You said you like to prefer to be somewhere that is closer to home.
Well, that's why, because you're there. So why would I want to come to Alabama?
True. Well, I will say things stay the same here no matter what. You can come back 5 years, 10 years, and it's pretty much the same. But I think you've really gotten to see the world.
Well, I've seen some. There's no place like home. I'm like Dorothy. I like to click my heels and say there's no place like home.
Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you think your life has changed since being able to go into different countries and work? And
well, I'm definitely probably more tolerant because I'm a minority here. I can't read the language. I could if I would take time, I guess, to get on Duolingo and learn it. But I start on it and then get sidetracked, not finished. I mean, I've learned a few things, but I'm not fluent. So when you go to another country and you can't read the road signs or the menus or anything else, you feel a little bit vulnerable. You know, like, I don't know if I should go down this road. Does that say don't turn here?
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, because I hadn't really thought about that, of how you have a little bit of culture shock.
But then think about the people that are coming to our country, and people fuss and say, oh, they need to learn to speak English. Well, what do they think about us coming over here? These people have been great here in Germany and Italy too, as far as putting up with us, because there's a whole lot of Americans here, and I'm sure they don't all speak German. Some do, but I'm sure for the most part, I'd say no. So, but you'll see the Germans, most all the ones that I have met speak English, you know? So, and the joke about how do you tell if somebody's from different countries and they know you're from America if you only speak one language? We think our language is the only language.
Yeah, I mean, that's very true.
Language, but when we go somewhere else, we should try to speak theirs too.
I'm amazed that they haven't started teaching second languages more in elementary school, because I went to Costa Rica and they were teaching English alongside Spanish to kids in elementary school, because they knew that
all these children are learning English and German.
That's wild. I mean, and the older you get, I feel like the harder it is to pick up a language.
So I guess it's good they're starting them young.
Yeah. Well, what other parts of Germany surprised you the most about living there? Is there anything weird about it, or things they do culturally that is different? I was amazed that you have to pay to go to the bathroom. I still can't get over that.
Yeah, you do have to. They have quiet time where you're not supposed to make noise during certain hours of the day.
What?
Yeah, and so like getting on in the evening, they want you to be quiet, like don't have wild parties on your street and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
A friend of mine that was a doctor here told us that she had the police called to her because of her wind chimes were making noise and her neighbors didn't like it.
Wow, how petty.
Yeah, I don't know what happened before that, if there was some
maybe they just had a vendetta.
I asked them to take them down to begin with, and they probably didn't. I don't know what happened with that.
Yeah.
But I heard the story. I don't know how true it all is.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Where I live, it's mostly all Americans in my neighborhood. In fact, they joke and call my neighborhood Little America because there's so many Americans living in it.
Yeah, well, and
we could probably have a wind chime. I know my neighbors on both sides of me are American. They probably wouldn't care.
Yeah, you kind of have it nice there because you made friends. You made friends with your neighbor and your that's kind of cool to have somebody from home or at least from America who you can talk to.
With these people for the rest of their life now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's wild that you worked in Alabama for your entire career, and then you went, and now you've gone to 2 countries and then to the Marshall Islands. So that just shows that once your worldview sort of expanded, everything got bigger. Like you were able to see.
I thought I was in Florence, Alabama. That was home. That was where my family was, and I couldn't imagine wanting to go anywhere else. But I did want to work on a tropical island. It's been my running joke with my nurses that I work with for many years, is that I wanted to have be able to lay on the beach in the evening when I get off from work.
Yeah,
so dream came true thanks to
So Kwajalein, for people who don't know, is a tiny island, and it's a military base.
Yes. It's a missile defense base, actually, and they have a lot of people come and go from Redstone Arsenal there. So
that is so cool that that was your first DoD job that you got, wasn't it? Or was that a DoD job?
Contract job. I worked for a contract.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. So you worked there for 2 years?
2 years. Mm-hmm. And while I was there, I found out about the job in Italy and applied for it. So from Quaj, I went to Italy.
And then from Italy to Germany?
Yes.
So from Germany, where do you think you're going to go? That's crazy.
I don't know, but I can only stay abroad, like I said, 5 years.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to be looking to come back to the States.
I would love for you to go to Hawaii because I want to go to Hawaii.
I think Hawaii would be nice. I've also got a guy that works with me that just left Hawaii, and he said it's overrated. He said it costs too much to live there, and it's overrated.
Well, maybe that's
saying no, that's not true.
Yeah.
Well, for me, if I could afford to live there, I would like to take a shot at it. But I heard it's very expensive. I don't know on a nurse's salary if I can afford that.
So people from Hawaii, please comment on the cost of living because we need to know.
Can a nurse afford to live in Hawaii?
Hawaii, it has and I ship packages there all the time, and they have to have some lower cost of living places because don't they have,
I don't know. That's probably why they're ordering from you because whatever they're getting is cheaper than it is in Hawaii.
Or they can't get it in Hawaii. That might be an issue. But you know what? What do you think is something that you would want to do besides nursing if you weren't a nurse? I've always wondered that. You said if you picked a different career, what would it be?
I would love to have and bake. Not that I want to cook all day for people. I just want to bake, but I want to have my little coffee and cakes.
Yeah, like a little
object, and I can make a living doing that.
Yeah, like a cafe.
But then I probably hate cooking after that. So maybe it's a good thing that's not my job.
Yeah. Well, I like when you cook, and it's the best cooking in the world. I've tasted food all over the world, and nobody's food is better than yours. So, yeah, I mean, I think a bakery it does lose the joy after you.
I'm looking for you to get your business up and running, where I can have a little cake and coffee shop down in the lobby wherever you are.
Well, I would love to open a bookstore, but the problem with it is that you have to be there all the time. So, when would you ever get to go home? And if I didn't,
are you an employee?
Yeah, I mean, but I feel like that would cut into whatever money I was going to make.
Probably so.
But a bookstore would do well here. A bookstore with a little coffee and cake place, I think would be cool. maybe later down the road when we are in a different place in our life.
Or we can get us what do you call it? A bed and breakfast.
Airbnb. We already did that. I already did that here. So, what do you think is like? What is it like having someone who you're having a kid who doesn't pursue a normal career path? Because you
worries their parents.
Yeah.
Because our parents grew up in a different generation where we think everybody's supposed to do what we do. And your generation looks at life different than we do. I've had to, and we're not supposed to label people. I went to a class and they said, don't call each other millennials or Gen Xers or whatever. We're all just people. But it is true about the generations. You guys are looking at things different than we did where we grew up, where work was so important that we've made it our whole life. Whereas, what is it? We live to work and you
work to live.
Work to live, yes.
Yeah.
And that makes a lot of sense. And I'm happy that things are turning around for people.
Yeah.
Because I was a workaholic and I still am, really. Even though I'm not as bad, I guess, as I used to be, but I still have some kind of crazy sense of completion of a task. I don't know what it is.
Well, I can identify with that because when I work and I do well, I put a lot of value in that, and I almost it's like my work is me, but really it's not me. It's just something that I do. You can.
I said too. I spend a lot of time doing it. It doesn't define who I. It's what I do, not who I am.
Yeah, but it's easy to get wrapped up in it. I mean, I like with it.
There's so much pride in it. It's our whole livelihood. Our jobs, our work that we do.
Yeah.
And so you have to do it well if you want to keep getting to do it.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of one thing we could talk about is how different American culture is than in Europe. You said they don't value work as much and they're not as into it.
They value work, but I think they value family time, and when it's time for a break, they're going to go take a break.
Yeah. They don't work.
In Italy, you're going to have coffee.
Yeah.
At 9:15 and 2:15 and lunch.
Yeah, so they're not the type of people who are going to work through their lunch.
Not on the government property, but some of the business have. I think they call it
yeah, something with
they go home for 2 hours or 3, and they'll close the shops, and the shops will open back up at about 6 p.m.
Lord have mercy.
Restaurant. And so I don't know. I don't think they do that here. I haven't noticed that in Germany, but like I said, I'm at work every day too. So what do I know? What's happening?
Yeah. Well, and that store closing for 3 hours a day would be unheard of in America. I mean, people would lose their mind.
They don't all do it, but like the mom and pop shops, a lot of restaurants. But you can see restaurants saying, "Okay, we're not going to pay you to sit here for 3 hours till the dinner crowd comes."
Yeah, I know. A lot of the Indian restaurants I go to close. They do lunch and then they close and they don't open back up until supper time, which really makes sense because why else? You're not making very much money while you're there.
And a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of cool. Well, I'm glad you came on the show to talk about everything. I feel like people are going to be able to get a lot out of this. This is a lot of information that, I'm
telling you what I know and what I've heard. I am not an expert on government hiring or anything, so please don't take me there. This is from my experience.
Yeah, but that just says a lot because you didn't have decades of government experience.
And a lot of people that are in it were like active duty, and so they get out of active duty and then they go to work in the system, So there are a lot of people that did that, but I mean that wasn't my case, and there's a lot of people I know that just got hired. So
right,
if you got the qualification, you can get the job.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We will maybe revisit this if we have more questions from people. We might have to do a second interview in the future.
All right, I thought they're going to be that interested in what I had to say.
Well, never know. Never know.
If you need me to.
All right. Well, signing off. Thank you so much for coming on.
Lovely day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.